Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. And thank you, too, to my sister Carol and my niece Kimmy from the DCSS team for inviting me to speak with you today. This is a first for me. I've never spoken in front of a crowd like this, and it's not an easy topic to share, so I ask you to bear with me. I'm not the mayor, so I have my cheat sheets here. When I thought about what I was going to say today, I reflected on how cancer impacts our lives. And for most of us, it's a negative experience, filled with loss. Loss of hair, loss of a limb, a breast, loss of life, and very often, loss of faith and hope. And for me, as difficult as it's been and continues to be, cancer actually made a positive impact on my life. A life I'll never take for granted again. I was 29 years old when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer. I had a good life. My husband of 6 years and I had a new home, a new baby. We had good careers. Everything was going well. And we sat in the doctor's office looking at my mammogram, and we heard the doctor say those horrific words. I'm 85% sure that that's cancer. I immediately shut down. His mouth was moving, but I didn't hear a word he was saying. All I could think of is who's going to take care of Michael, my husband, and Patrick, my baby, when I'm gone? What about my parents, my brothers and sisters, my family and friends? How would my death affect them? I never for once considered that I might survive. I assumed, like many others, that cancer meant a death sentence. But something snapped me out of it. I heard my husband ask the doctor, so what are we going to do about it? What are our options? And two things struck me about that. One, he said we, and I knew he was going to be with me. Not that I thought that he wouldn't be, but just the idea that we were in it together hit me right here. And the other words, going to do something about it, meant there was something that could be done about it. And right then and there, way deep down inside, I knew I was going to be okay. The night before I had my surgery to the biopsy to determine if it really was cancer, I prayed, something I hadn't done as often as I had in the past. And I wondered, what is faith? Is faith believing in that 15% chance that I don't have cancer? Is it believing that if I do, I'll be cured? Or is it believing that no matter what, I'm not alone? And a peace came over me. And I said to God, I believe in you, and I believe in your plan for me, whatever that might be. And so the diagnosis was cancer, and we, my husband, my family, my friends, and I began to do something about it. I opted for a lumpectomy, which is removal of the tumor and the surrounding tissue. And I began chemotherapy treatment soon after that. And it was so hard. I was so sick. And I'd have to psych myself up every single time to go back for the next one. But one thing really helped, my 2-year-old. And one memory has stayed with me all these years. He had come into the bedroom where I was sleeping, you know, that awful, restless sleep you have when you're sick. And he started putting Cheerios in my mouth. But I didn't wake up all the way. So he stuck his sticky little fingers in my eye, and he tried to open my eyes. And I did. I woke up, and I laid there looking at him. And he was full of mischief. And it made me smile. And then I stared at him, and he made me determined. Right then and there, I decided, I'm going to be there for him. No matter how hard the treatments are, no matter how many I have to have, I'm going to be there. And I set myself a goal. I'm going to be there to see him graduate from college. So every time I started to feel sorry for myself or felt like I was too sick to go on, I would picture him walking across the stage to receive his diploma. Well, it helped. I made it through the chemotherapy treatments. I had my last treatment on October 13th, 1989, Friday the 13th, 4 days before the Loma Prieta earthquake. By the end of that year, I had finished all of my radiation and chemotherapy treatments. And what a year it was. I lost something, yes, my hair, but I found some things too. I found the love and strength of my husband, the support of family and friends who drove me to chemo and radiation treatments and took care of Patrick when I was too sick to, the comfort of my mom and dad, my mom's cooking. Sometimes that's the only thing I could keep down. It gave a new meaning to the words comfort food. And my dad's recliner, Papa's chair, no one sat there, but I did. I spent many a post-treatment afternoon curled up in the comfort of that chair. I found inspiration in my little boy, but most importantly, I found a renewed faith in God. But my experience with cancer wasn't over yet. I was just about at the 5-year mark, and I was desperately trying to convince my oncologist that perhaps maybe we could start thinking about having another child. He wasn't going for it, but he did say that he would talk about it if my next mammogram came out clear. Well, it didn't. And if I thought my faith was tested the first time, the blow of having to face it all again was nothing in comparison. When a needle biopsy came back positive for cancer, I didn't have an alternative. It was in the same breast, so I had no choice but to have a mastectomy. So about a month before my 33rd birthday, they took my breast. Now, fortunately, all of those tests they do to see if cancer is spread came back negative. And I was put on the estrogen inhibitor, tamoxifen, at the age of 33, something they weren't doing at the time. Once again, I had all the love and support that I needed. And I have to share this with you. My husband had taken some time off to be with me while I recovered, and on the night that he was going back to work, he held me. And he gave me a strong but tender hug, and he told me, "Hey, look, I can hold you closer on that side," referring to my missing breast. And that was the kind of positive attitude I always got from him. And I spent that summer. It ended up being a great summer. I spent the days at the pool with 5-year-old Patrick, recovering. And I went back to work feeling healthy and happy and hopeful again. That was 1993. 7 years later, I decided to have reconstructive surgery. And while I was on medical leave, I received a call from a former employee of mine at the bank where I'd been for almost 20 years. She was calling from Mills College. She said, "Hey, you got to leave the bank. You need to come to Mills." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." I knew that job. I'd been there almost 20 years, and what was I going to do at Mills anyway? But I filled out an application. 2 days before I was supposed to go back to work, they called me. I went for an interview. They offered me a job. I was petrified. I'm like, I have to tell my boss, "Hey, I'm coming back, but I'm leaving." But more than that, I didn't know what I was going to do there. I knew my other job. Talk about a leap of faith. But it turned out to be the best move I could have made. My worst day there is still 10 times better than my best day at the bank. And I love telling people that I wouldn't be at Mills if it weren't for cancer. So that was a positive thing. And yes, I have much to be thankful for. And I continue to. In 2009, I hit the 20-year mark. Yay. And in May of that year, thank you. In May of that year, my husband of 25 years and I were both there to see Patrick graduate from the University of the Pacific. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. In July of that year, I spent my 50th birthday in Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame with my husband and my younger brother, Don. But the best part of 2009 was, after 25 years in law enforcement, my husband retired that December, and we've begun a new and exciting life together. On Wednesday, thank you, he was a survivor too, of sorts. On Wednesday, I'll celebrate my 52nd birthday, and yes, I do mean celebrate, which brings me to why we are all here today. To help create a world with less cancer and more birthdays. And so I ask God to bless each and every one of you for your time, your effort, your energy to help make this Relay for Life a successful event. Thank you all.